purpose of today's video is to make sure you walk away out of this one being a stronger chess player. I'm gonna walk you through my game, I'm gonna explain you all of my decisions in the process, and I promise you, you're gonna learn more than one very useful thing out of this video. So my opponent is playing bishop to f4, which is the beginning of the London system, and I'm gonna try to beat it. I mean, I hate playing against the London system, I have to confess. It's just a horrible opening, in my opinion, to play in chess, because it's so boring. I'm just like sitting there on the board. I'm like, when it's gonna end? I hate to sit there and I hate to try to beat that London system, because especially if the player doesn't want to attack. I mean, one thing is when white says, okay, I'm gonna play the London, but I have a very active play in mind and I'm gonna try to crush you. Okay, I agree with that, no questions. But if the player just plays bishop f4, knight f3, e4, c3, and just tries to sit there and do absolutely nothing and say, okay, I'm always happy with the draw. If you want to win, you need to weaken yourself and so on. Then I just don't like it, sorry. But my opponent plays knight c3, which is called the Jobava London, and that is a completely different thing that actually can get interesting here. So let's see, I'm gonna play knight d7. And if my opponent allows me, of course, I want to play e5. That would be a move with a tempo here. That would be just a fantastic turn of events. But yeah, my opponent plays knight to f3, which is not allowing me to play e5, and he wants to play e4 and grab the full control of the center. This is very logical strategy, but I'm gonna play c5 and try to break it. So you always want to fight for the initiative. This is the first very important principle I want you to learn today. It's like never possible to play passively and hope for the best. No, in chess, you always want to be tricky, you always want to create some problems for your opponent. My opponent plays d5, and unfortunately, I don't remember by heart what you need to play here. I guess I tried b5 in some game in the past, and it didn't really work out. Like takes, queen a5 check, then goes back, knight e4 was my idea, but somehow it wasn't enough. And as far as I remember from analyzing that game, the right move was just queen a5, because now I want to play b5 for free, and if you try to stop it with a4 or maybe e3 is the better way, then I still have my knight e4 idea, which is very annoying. So if my memory doesn't trick me, then queen a5 is the right move. And that is, of course, the advantage of analyzing your games. I always recommend you do that. Analyzing your games is the one best thing you can do to improve your chess immediately. Because if you don't do that, it just doesn't make any sense. Of course, if you really want to improve your chess. Because, of course, like, you're a human being, you're not Magnus Carlsen. Even if you are still making some mistakes. And so if you're not looking at your games, you're just repeating those mistakes over and over again. So of course, you need to do that. After every single one that you play, please take a look at it. In the best case scenario, without the engine first, because then you can really go through and think, okay, why did I play here, that, what is the mistake, what should be the right way to play instead of that, and then you just check those things with the engine, trying to like either prove you right or wrong. And then in the next game, well, hopefully you're not going to repeat the same mistake. Of course, sometimes it doesn't work that easily, sometimes you still keep making the same mistakes. For example, I play for 20 years now and I still make the same mistakes over and over, even though sometimes I know that I shouldn't do that, but that's just who I am. But of course, with every game analyzed, well, it's still, I'm going to play better. I'm still going to remember some stuff and not repeat it in the later games. Okay, so knight a4. He did play a4. I don't see any problem with knight a4. And of course, I would be happy to bring my bishop on g7. That's going to be a real monster. By the way, this is like you fight against the Jobava London from the black side, and I have covered this variation in my 10-day opening mastery course, which has a huge discount right now, so definitely take a look in the link in the description. You get an opportunity to build an entire opening repertoire for white and for black in just 10 days for a price of just a single opening course. I have never seen an offer like that. Of course, you get a lifetime access. You don't need to learn it in 10 days, but if you have time, then 10 days is the program I have constructed. And of course, you can take whatever time you need for it. Okay, my opponent plays bishop d2. I guess the idea is he wants to take it with the knight and then bring it to c4. Maybe I shouldn't have played knight e4 in so fast. Maybe I should have waited for him to play e3. Yeah, you see, that's another thing to learn. But I'm still okay with that. Okay, he actually takes with the queen. That is surprising. I thought this is whole idea, take with the knight. But in every case, I get a pair of bishops here. I'm playing as black. I don't have any real weaknesses, so I'm happy with the development of this game. So on the journey to grandmaster.com, you can take a look at the free tutorials from the course just to take a look whether you like the content or not, whether it's something for you or not. You can take a look at what is inside of the course to understand whether it's for you or not. I mean, this is a fantastic opening repertoire that I have used. It has been proved by me as well as a lot of my students to work to actually bring a lot of rating points, a lot of cute victories. I mean, just take a look at the reviews, what people are saying about the course, and hopefully I'm gonna see you there. Make sure to use the discount before it disappears. Okay, so the bishop is coming to g7 and it doesn't have any opponent. I love the situation like that. And basically this is the London of my dream, where he doesn't have this annoying bishop on f4 anymore. He doesn't have it at all. Have bishop's pair advantage, and this is a very, very powerful position for me, very comfortable one, because it has potential. It's not symmetrical. I mean, this is all I can dream about. Yeah, my opponent is creating some counterplay. I like it. I mean, even if the opponent doesn't work out your way, you still need to try to outplay your opponent, right? You still need to try to create some difficulties for him. Your main task in chess, always and always, is to make your opponent's life as difficult as possible. Otherwise, he's not gonna make mistakes, right? If you don't put pressure on him. Okay, I don't want to allow my opponent to play h5 that easily, so I'm gonna play h5 myself. It's very important to limit your opponent's potential, to limit his counterplay chances. Because if he doesn't have any counterplay, then he's forced to play passively. He's forced to just, I don't know, be sad about his position. And this is exactly what we are trying to achieve here. Play bishop g7, probably castles, why not? Then knight to e5, maybe exchange a pair of knights, bring the bishop somewhere, f5, g4, and then yeah, let's see where the king is going to go. I assume it's going to go this side, because if he goes to this side, well, I'm ready to meet him here. a6, b5, b4, and I'm gonna destroy him. But if he goes to the king side also, h4 move is not a move you want to make. So that is quite a commitment. Maybe this queen is coming to b4 at some point and then attacking this guy, although with this one, of course, you need to be careful not to blunder your queen. But I can feel this frustration from the point of my opponent. He didn't achieve what he wanted in the opponent, and that's why he struggles to find something interesting. Yeah, knight b5 is, by the way, an interesting move. Maybe I should have played a6 and wasted that tempo just to prevent this opportunity. I thought that it's not dangerous for me because I always can play queen d8 and then a6. But now I'm realizing my opponent has queen to c3 with the tempo. My rook is hanging, I'm not in time to play that. Can I play knight e5, knight e5, bishop g7? Probably also not, because just a 4, it feels weird. And the second idea is, once I kick that knight away, he's gonna go to a3 and then to c4, where the knight belongs, actually. That is the best position for the knight in this type of structure. So what I can do is queen to d8, queen c3, knight f6, then bishop g7, then castles, and then I'm going to be ready with some jumps with my knight there. Of course, the alternative was to exchange the queens, but I really want to do that. I want to outplay my opponent with a open board of so many pieces. He actually doesn't go for queen c3. That is weird, because now I get bishop g7 without any troubles at all. I thought that is the point of the move knight to b5, but okay. Yeah, like that you can, of course, also play it, because now my bishop is kind of blocked. And maybe he actually was afraid of that knight f6, bishop g7, and then knight e4, knight e5 ideas, which actually seems very reasonable for me. So reasonable that I'm thinking maybe instead of bishop g7, I should have played bishop h6, just provoking the queen to go there, then castle, and then bishop g7 back. But okay, now it's too late for that. Yeah, let me just castle. Yeah, he goes knight a3 voluntarily, not waiting for a6, because the knight on b5, it's like doing absolutely nothing. So he wants to take advantage of that. The question is, how do I make progress? On the one hand, it's very tempting to play knight e5. On the other hand, kind of simplifies the position. Maybe I still do it. Maybe I go for f5. Yeah, I should be careful. g6 is going to be weak too. Or I play knight f6, g3, and e6. Takes. Some pressure there. Maybe prepare the move d5, because of course, when you have two bishops advantage, you need to open up the position. That is, let me go for it. That is what you really should do to make full advantage of your two bishops pair. Yeah, e6 is a typical idea in this Benoni type of structure when you play c5 and provoke that pawn to go to d5. But I guess it's a very good version of the Benoni with two bishops advantage without this dark squares bishop. And like I said, this h4 pawn, it's going to be a pain in the ass for my opponent, because pawns are not going back. This is very important to know about chess. Not like checkers. They're also not going back, but at least if you are taking your opponent's not pawn, what do you call it in checkers? Let me know in the comments, because I honestly don't know. But there you can at least go back. Here you never have such an opportunity. Even if you take, you only take forward. Okay, now I'm gonna be puzzled by the end of the game how you call the pawn in checkers. So I'm attacking that pawn. He's taken. I never want to take with the pawn, because this guy is going to be horribly weak. Taking it with the bishop, because that also helps me to develop. By the way, in some variations, c4 might be an idea, because he cannot take it twice. Knight takes, I have knight takes c4, bishop takes bishop c4, although the disadvantage is my d6 pawn is gonna be a weakness. Knight g5, okay. Can I play bishop b3? Just attacking that pawn. I know it's greedy, but why not? If I take, I will always come back. He can never take advantage of that. Otherwise, a5, probably I can just take, right? The rook is still pinned, or the knight is still pinned, and then I once again can go back. Or even if I don't take immediately, still the bishop is pretty good on b3. If he plays c4, then this guy is going to be a monster. I'm gonna do it. It's a little bit risky, but I see absolutely no way for him to use that. And what is also very important, he's doing that without castling his king. That is a huge mistake you should never make. Make sure your king is safe. It's like your child in the family. You always need to take care of it, at least as long as the queens are on the board. You need to treat it like your child, so you need to bring it to safety. You need to make sure everything is okay with the king before you go all in into the attack, basically doing your business. Yeah, you see, my opponent realizes that, and he is sacrificing the pawn to make sure his king is safe. Once the queens are off the board, however, then your king basically grows from a little prince to a really powerful king, and then you don't need to waste its potential. You need to bring it into the center, into the actions, and make use of it. Okay, but I don't see any reason not to take the pawn. Knight c4, I'm gonna just bring it back. Yes, my d6 pawn is weak, but 5 would be on my agenda, and I mean, I have an extra pawn. Feel free to try to win it back. Maybe bishop c4 is his idea, putting some pressure on the f7 pawn, but I do have enough defenders. That should be fine. Yes, of course, my g5 square is somewhat vulnerable. I would prefer to be able to play h6, no longer an option for me. But on the other hand, earlier, well, I had to face this h5 problem. It was pretty dangerous. Now, all I need is maybe like 2 tempi to play bishop c6 back, maybe even d5, or I don't know, queen d7, rook e8, something like that. Maybe knight g5, knight g4 becomes an idea at some point. But yeah, that is quite a greedy approach to take the pawn like that. My opponent does go for bishop d4. As long as my bishop on c6, I have a pair of bishops once again. Nobody is taking that from me. And this knight on a3, that's the problem behind the move bishop c4. The bishop is taking the square away from the knight. Basically, c4 is a good square for both of those pieces, and they are like fighting for it, but there is no way to be able to place both pieces on the same square. You can, of course, go back and then make sure that the c4 square is available for the knight, but first it takes a lot of time, and remember, you never want to waste too much time with the same piece. You always want to make moves with new pieces, different pieces, bring all of them, use all of them to attack. And secondly, even if you do that, then the knight on c4 would be still blocking that bishop. So not that ideal. I might even have the idea to play a6, b5, and c4, just shutting down all of those pieces completely. Yes, I have one weakness here, the d7 pawn, the d6 pawn, sorry, but that's just single one. Hopefully that's not that big. Maybe my opponent wants to play f3. That would stop my bishop here. This one is also blocked by these pawns, and this is his strategy. But once I'm able to somehow destroy all of that with a move like d5, he's gonna regret that. Yeah, rook e1 makes sense. Now the question is, do I play d5 immediately? Does feel tempting. Maybe he's gonna get some compensation there. Maybe queen d7, because that prepares the move b5, that continues my development, bringing the queen. The queen is active there, maybe there, here as well, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense. e5, I can just take it. Rook d8, of course, is on my agenda. That can be better. Rook e8, depending on what's gonna happen. Rook d8 feels like a more useful move, just because if I go to e8, my opponent plays f3, then my rook is basically stuck on e8. It does pretty much nothing. But if I go to d8, then it will always have a job either to just defend this weakness on d6 or support it on its way forward with the move d5. Somehow recently I get so many opponents from Brazil. I don't know. Is chess booming in Brazil? Let me know if you know something about that in the comments, but so many people from there. Do I threaten to play queen g4? I guess I do, because that is a double attack. If you take on d6, I'm gonna take on h4, attacking the knight, preparing the move knight g4. Okay, now this becomes even more relevant. Why can't I play queen to g4? If you play f3, I still take it. I mean, you can take on f7, of course, but I don't see that that white has enough. Maybe the idea is that knight a4 is not a real threat because you can take and play f3. But first, that doesn't work. Bishop takes f3. And second, that doesn't feel convincing. Okay, so queen g4, queen takes d6, queen takes h4. Now knight takes f7. Maybe that's the idea. Takes, takes. Queen c7. I just go back. 5. I just go knight. I mean, I understand that's risky and not necessary. I can just play rook d8 and prepare that. But then he's gonna play f3 and block that opportunity. And if I play queen g4, yes, a risk, but if it works out, then I might be just winning. Queen g4, queen takes d6, queen takes h4, knight takes f7. Well, it feels like I should take. If he attacks me somehow, queen e7, I can just play rook f8 and wait rook d8. That is quite annoying. Although maybe it doesn't change much if I just take... No, wait, bishop takes f7. Then queen takes d8. Yeah, so it might not be that simple. Okay, then let me just play rook d8 for now. Normally, if your position is good and you don't need to risk necessarily, then you don't risk. Sometimes you do want to use your chances while you still have it. But I'm certain that this position should be better for for black. Sorry, I have a pair of bishops. I have this knight on a3 doing absolutely nothing there. Now I'm thinking about knight g4. Just need to make sure that doesn't work. Rook takes d6, queen takes d6, takes f7. Well, I can always hide on h7 and I have some extra material. Otherwise, I want to play bishop e5 or knight e5. I can start with b5 as well. Yeah, I guess e5 is an idea, right? e5 is not funny because it's pinned. By the way, I can still play queen to g4. Once again, I'm not sure I want to exchange the queens. I wanted to attack my opponent. Yeah, let me play knight g4. That feels like, you know, the principal move. I really hope that those sacrifices don't work. At least I don't see why it should. And I need just one move here to make sure that everything is fine. Of course, the drawback is that knight is taking away the square from the queen. And also now, if I play b5, then this bishop is going to d. Also not great. But I guess I couldn't have started with b5 over here because my opponent would play e5 immediately. Then it's difficult to deal with it because rook d6 is coming, knight is hanging. It's unpleasant. But okay, after all, I'm still a pawn up. By the way, maybe I should have considered that when I was thinking about exchanging the queens, because if you are some material up, of course, you want to exchange pieces. That makes our life simpler. On the other hand, open fight is going to be more useful for you guys to understand how to navigate it in the process. And by the way, if you enjoyed the video so far, if you find it useful, hit the like button because it helps the video to spread to more people. It helps me to understand that you care about the content I'm creating for you, that you find it useful, and I can continue working on this stuff because yes, I am showing you my journey to Grandmaster, but at the same time, I want to make it inspirational for you. I want to make it as useful for you as possible. So yeah, I would really appreciate it. Thank you. This is, by the way, a very instructive moment where so many average players get some difficulties. Because so far, well, he developed all of his pieces, only this knight is absolutely doing nothing there, but apart from that, all of his pieces are active. But then well, it's not that simple, like what is the next step, how to continue? He has difficulties with it. So hopefully with the help of the videos on this channel, you're not gonna get those troubles because I talk so much about that, how to find the right plan in the middle game. This is like one of the central topics, both of the videos on the channel as well as of the 10-day opening mastery course, because it's absolutely not only about the openings. It's even more about this understanding of what you should do in certain types of positions, in certain openings, and in certain middle games. Okay, my opponent actually goes for bishop takes f7 check. I'm not sure what I have missed here because like bishop takes f7 is the least dangerous move I would consider. Because once I take it, it's gone. There are no pins anymore. It's just exchanging that, but do you know that two pieces are stronger than the rook? Even the rook and the pawn, two pieces are still stronger. So yes, you play knight c4. I mean, no, I have two bishops. Come on, guys. This is like a dream position for me in my entire chess career. I get two bishops for a rook. Let me show you how you should use that advantage and destroy your opponent. Yes, I have a weak d6, but I don't care. Like two bishops, I don't even. He doesn't even have any pawns to compensate that. But even with the pawns, I'm always happy to take those bishops. It's like never ever you have any chances against the bishops. But I actually had such a fantastic game. You can never imagine it's possible. I was having a rook. My opponent had two bishops and two pawns. Nothing else. I just have a king and a rook. He had two bishops and two pawns. And I made a draw in this position. That was such a fantastic game. I can't even tell you the words he was telling after the game. That was an overboard tournament game, classical chess, and he was so devastated after the game. He was, I mean, you can't even imagine this language. And I can totally understand him, but I like never resigned, so I was looking for my chances till the end, and I found that stalemate. I sacrificed my rook, and that was a draw. Fascinating stuff. Okay, now I really like to bring my king. Maybe that would allow him to play knight a5, but okay, who cares? I mean, I couldn't really stop it, right? Yeah, he's not going for it anyway, for some reason. Because, yeah, I was a little bit upset not to get my bishops. Now I can just play bishop a, right? Knight a5, sorry, bishop e5, and if knight a5, then knight a6. Bishop a6. e5, I just take it. And also after the move f4, there is absolutely no way to get rid of this knight from g4, and the knight on g4 is very annoying. f5. Yeah, that's something I missed. But once again, I don't think it should be dangerous, as long as I don't allow him to open up his rooks. Like when you're fighting against the rooks, you have like two pieces against the rook, or you are in exchange down. You never want to allow those rooks to get activated, to get open files to operate. And I don't even care about losing the pawn as long as the e file is in a sound. Also, the knight is still hanging, of course. And once the knight is gone, I can place my bishop on e5, where it's going to be just a huge, huge monster you can never survive playing against this bishop. So now you're gonna witness the power of two bishops and why I like it so much. Because some people are writing in the comments, no, you don't understand it. The bishop is not really stronger than the knight, especially in the blitz game. The knight is so tricky, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that is all true, but the bishop is still stronger. Bishop is always stronger. I mean, statistically, bishop is just a stronger chess piece. In my childhood, they even told me, like from the Soviet chess school, that it's better to consider bishop like 3.25 pawns than 3. The knight is 3 pawns, so the bishop is a little bit stronger. And to make sure you learn that difference as a kid, they say it like that. And I would definitely agree with that. I have countless examples in my chess career of how those bishops helped me to win, to score points. This is just one of those games. Yeah, I guess my opponent is burning so much time because he realizes there are absolutely no active ideas. And once he starts to go back, basically, he never is gonna come back. Yeah, he has to go back, but now, yeah, of course I could have just played bishop c6 back, actually. There wasn't any necessity, but doesn't matter. The bishop is great, it's covering those squares. Maybe he's preparing the move d4 now with rook. I don't know, does it make sense to play bishop h6? Bishop a3 check if you go somewhere here in h1. No, I don't see a real point, so let me just play normally bishop e5, just like I wanted. Bishop g3 is also on my agenda. Just win that pawn, why not? c4, it's not like it really helps him, right? I have d4 square at my disposal. I mean, I have everything at my disposal. That is the most dream position I can imagine in my life. Yeah, okay, he just resigns. Yeah, because this is absolutely horrible to find yourself in such a situation. So that is how you beat the London system as black, and in this video you see another amazing game I have played, and you can learn so much out of it. Definitely take a look.